Hello, how are y'all doing this evening or this morning? Yeah, I'm about to cover this up because I want you guys to listen. Yeah, okay, so this is a little story time. I don't know why God brought this back up, but I do know that it needs to be done. I guess this would be my public acknowledgement of my wrongdoings that happened um, like over 30 years ago. But I have to get it off my chest. I'm going to tell you why. Well, I'm just going to talk about it. Around about 1994, 95, I was ninth grade going to 10th grade. I came across a wrong number, okay? It was a wrong number. And I befriended a gentleman. I'm not going to say his name, and honestly, I don't think I got the right name if I did say it. But I befriended a gentleman here, and like I said, I was in ninth grade going to 10th grade. And me and this gentleman became friends. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a wrong number. Okay, this is back when everybody had a household phone. Okay, you had a phone. It was before cell phones. Cell phones was these bulky things people kept in cars, or police officers had these bulky boxes they took around. All right, but there was no cell phones. It was just home phones with phone lines. I think the most we had was like what you call like the phones with no cords, cordless phones. That was like if you paid like $100 for that, you got a cordless phone. But anyway, this is before this. This is before when you had like phone cords and long phone lines and box phones and all that stuff going on in your home. Everybody had a phone line in their home, okay? Well, this gentleman, or I did, one of us called each other on the wrong phone number. Times I think I called the wrong number, trying to call my family's phone, like a family member's phone number, and I think I called him instead. Or he was trying to call his family and he called me. One way or another, we kept, you know, coming across the same problem of us calling each other's phone. So we became kind of laughed about it and became friends. Totally random, okay? Totally random person. And we talked on the phone for almost an hour or so from a wrong phone number. Call it fate, call it, whatever you want to call it. But that's what it was. We both was in school at the time. Um, I think he was a senior in high school or going to be a senior in high school, and I was ninth grade going to 10th grade or something like that, or 10th grade, eighth grade going to ninth grade, something like that. But basically, if we was in regular classroom area, he would be a senior and I would be a freshman. I think it would be something like that. Yeah, yeah. He'll be a senior and I'll be a freshman. Anyway, that's if we was in regular school terms. But anyway, um, we're friends, whatever. We was friends like throughout the whole school year. And when he finished up school, of course I couldn't go to prom or nothing. 14. So um, yeah. So anyway, time moved on, and he says he's gonna go and stay up north with his family. I want to say he said Chicago or Philadelphia. I want to say he said Chicago. I don't want to say he said Philadelphia. I want to say he said Chicago. He says he's gonna go stay with his family, go to school up there, do his thing up there. And I was like, I was hurt. I was like, dang, I thought he was gonna go to, the local college or whatever here in Arkansas, and I was gonna see him. And he was like, no, I'm trying to get out of here. I'm trying to get out of this and that, and it hurt my feelings, that he was leaving. And I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I fell in love with this man, love this boy. I did. First real love of my life. Now, he wasn't the first. Yeah, he was. He was the first real love of my life. He was like kind of a secret. Even though I had a friend that took me by his house, and I had my mom one time Stopped by his house and say hi. I think it was on his birthday. I just stopped by and said hi to him or whatever. Spent like a couple of minutes. My mom was in the car. I was outside at my mom's car. We talked for a minute. My mom met his mom, kind of situation, just friendly. Anyway, time moved on. Like I said, he was ready to go to Chicago. And I literally was hurt because he didn't even say goodbye. It was a bad storm that day, I think. Yeah, it was a bad storm that day. I was waiting for his phone call by the phone to at least tell him bye. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye. He never called. Called his mom's house the next day because he never called me that day. His mom said he was already gone. And I was like, he didn't even say goodbye. He promised he would call. He didn't call. Left. All right, so of course my little heart was broken, right? My little heart was so broken. I got so angry. Oh, I was just like had like a little bitter heart, and promised myself I wouldn't fall in love again. I don't care. He just left and didn't say bye. Da da. I was really upset. So, time went on. I went on to school. Finished up high school and everything, and went on to college my first year. See, I had some key. See, I had some. I ain't gonna say hatred. I'm gonna say anger in me from what he did because he left without saying goodbye. He laughed and left like, oh, forget about her, kind of situation. And then I'm like, he was back in kind of situation. And then I'm like, he was back in. He didn't even say hello. Nothing. Nothing. About him at the local fast food restaurant. He was working in the back. One of the managers, I knew the manager. We all went to school together. We was all in college together. And he said, hey, my boy said he knows you and everything and all this other stuff. I saw him and I immediately got upset again. I immediately got mad as hell because I remember this was the same man who hurt me, who left without saying goodbye, laughed about it, kept going, whatever, laughed about it, kept going, whatever he did. Went on with his life. Then I was mad at the fact I'm like, he's back in town, didn't even try to say hello, nothing. I said, wow, okay. So me, I said, I don't know. Because of the fact, and this is me being petty. And I think I was like 19 at this time, okay? Me being petty, me being angry, me being too prideful to say, hey, yeah, I know him. Yeah, he's good people, whatever. I didn't say that. I was angry. That same anger rose up out of me. And at 14, 15 years old, I was angry he left and he didn't say bye. Then I was even more angry he came back, didn't say nothing to me. So I said, since he didn't want to acknowledge me, I'm not going to acknowledge him. Ladies, don't let somebody, because usually I would have not been that person. I would have been the, hey, how you been? This is that, da, da. I mean, bubbly, happy. That was me, right? And that's usually who I was at that time frame. Now, at that time, I was extremely hurt. I was extremely upset. And it brought me back to my junior high school situation. And at that time frame, what happened was I ignored him. And I kept going like whatever. Like, eye for an eye kind of situation. What hurt my soul, hurt my heart so bad, is when my same friend came up and told me that he was, I don't know how much my fell down to my stomach. But I had to be tough, right? I had to have this tough person, this tough exterior, going on. I wouldn't even go back and say, hey, I'm sorry for what I said and what I did. I didn't acknowledge him still. I just walked away because I was still angry about how he treated me when I was younger. And so I was like, I cried when I was younger. He can cry now, right? Be careful how you treat people. You never know who you're hurting. Now, time goes on. I move on in my life. Things goes on, and I come back home, and at this time frame, the next time I see this gentleman, um, at this time frame, I think I was engaged to um, another young man. I was in college at Texas Southern in Houston. Me and this gentleman came back to Arkansas to see my family, whatever, and I came across him again. But at the time frame, somebody told me he was an alcoholic and he was, stuck on drugs or something. And I ain't gonna lie, you guys, I wanted to help him so bad. I saw him, I wanted to, pray for him. I want to go and say, he found the Lord or whatever. I did. I really did. But I couldn't because at the time frame I was dating someone else. And I did not want the guy that I brought in from Texas to think, okay, who's she all up on or whatever. Because, you know, nobody sits back here and want anybody being jealous hearted when you're in a relationship, right? You're trying to get something, uh, you're trying to be, the good girlfriend, the good future Mrs. whoever, because you guys, talked about marriage and everything, trying to be that good person. But y'all, my heart went out to him. I wanted to go and apologize for how I acted and treated him. I want to apologize for how our relationship kind of ended, even though we both was like 4 years apart from each other, you know. And I wanted, some kind of closure there. But the only thing I could do was just say, Lord, help him. Jesus, help him. And I drove off because, like I said, I was with somebody new, and I didn't want this jealous-hearted person I was with at the time frame, because at the time frame the guy I was engaged to was my daughter's father, was extremely jealous-hearted. Couldn't say hi to nobody else without him acting stupid. So didn't want that situation to pop off with this man, but I just had to say a prayer for him. Well, if you bring up this situation wondering what does that got to do with 30 years later, right? 'Cause my daughter's 22, about to be 23, in August, this coming August. And what does that got to do with anything now? Well, yesterday I was riding around with family and we passed by the location where this gentleman's mom's house was. And it was an empty, vacant lot. The house must have been, bulldozed down and everything. They were, doing renovations or doing some remodeling or building something else there in spite of the woman's house that he was at. And it just so happened that I ran across that man's came across that house came across the empty lot where that man's mom's house was. And this whole scenario came back up in my head on how everything ended. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if God heard my prayer and got him off of those situations he was in and gave him a better life. I don't know if he got married. I hope he did. I hope he found someone that loved him, that could take care of him and be there for him, all this good stuff, because he needed it, And I would say, in the same void of this, if this guy ever came across my broadcast of saying, I am sorry, my 14-year-old, 15-year-old, and 19-year-old self was very immature, very eye for an eye kind of person. And even though this was 20 to 30 years ago, I'd like to put this out into the void of I am sorry for my actions. Because yesterday made me remember how eye for an eye don't help any situation. This was one example that I wish I would learn forgiveness and how to let go at a young age. Because when I turned 19, 20 and saw him in a situation at that fast food restaurant, it was no telling what he went through. No telling how much hell he had experienced, because no telling what happened from him being from up north that brought him back down here to Arkansas. No telling what could have happened. And I could have been that friend for him at that time frame and listened. But I wasn't. I was more so in my, oh, you hurt me, you know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago kind of situation. You up and left and didn't say bye. You didn't try to acknowledge anything, didn't call, say anything to me about, I was really in my feelings, y'all. I was really in my feels. I really was. But the thing is, I did not acknowledge the fact that one turn doesn't deserve another. Sometimes when you get one turn, you got to learn how to turn the other cheek and take that hit and be like, hey, let me be here for that person now, because they may need that friend. You know? I'm putting this out here to hopefully help somebody else in this situation, to let you know that whatever that anger situation that happened to you so long ago, don't do eye for an eye, y'all. Because the same person you may be hurting may need a good friend at that time frame, and you could be that friend. You may be, God said, you may be being mean to your soulmate and you don't know it. Now, do I think that man's my soulmate? Nah, no. I just think we just came across each other's life off of a wrong number and wound up being great friends that fell in love in just wrong place, wrong time. Older people now, and still, harsh environments. Either way it goes, I'm hoping that this message will help out somebody to make you understand. Don't hold on to grudges either. Learn how to forgive and let go. And when you let go, truly let go. And if that person you come across hurt you so long ago, if they need a friend, be that friend to them. Don't hold on to that pain. And if anything, talk it out. You never know what situation may have came up at that time frame so long ago when your little heart was hurt, or, his little heart was hurt, or whatever the situation may have happened. You don't know what the circumstances in each other's life was to make those hurt feelings happen. Learn how to forgive and let go, and be a friend to the friendless. Be a family-like person to the family-less person, the person who does not have family. You know what I'm saying? Love each other as God loves us. Now, if anybody else say, oh, you want to apologize to that a random guy, you don't want to apologize to me, listen, the rest of y'all knew better. Okay? And I'm going to tell you, because after that happened with that gentleman, I could not do that to anybody else. Believe it or not, he was the first guy I really came across and really just, kind of head over heels for, so long ago. Like I said, it was a junior high, like a sophomore, freshman in high school. And, yeah, I came across this story to hope, I don't know why God kept on putting this on my heart this evening, but I was hoping that this may help someone, whoever needs to hear this, to let go of old grudges, old feelings that happened so long ago in high school and college. And let's think about it, people. You were kids. We all were kids at one time. We all messed up at one time. You can't hold grudges against people for that long. It does nothing but make it harder on your life, your health, and your stress level. Because honestly, that other person moved on with their life, met new people, experienced different life pleasures and situations and life pains. Why are you still holding on to a grudge that happened back when you was kids? You got to learn how to let go. That's one thing about it. It's a Toni Braxton song that says, just let go, let it flow. I still love that song. That's very, 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 very true. To this very day, it's very true. I think it was on Wait and Exhale soundtrack. Beautiful song. And it still applies to this very day. Just let go and let it flow. You know, it talks about a man or a woman that's treating you wrong and doing you wrong, and you got to learn how to treat yourself better and expect better and change your ways in order to get better in your life. And it's very true. Very true. But the thing is that you got to understand that sometimes when people are young and kids, that's what they are, young kids. And some men just don't grow out of those situations. And some women don't grow out of those situations. They don't mature or develop correctly. So you got to watch how you treat people. Okay? If this gentleman ever come across this broadcast, he knows who he is. I want to say I do apologize to you, sir. And I hope and pray that the Lord finds you and bless you and gave you the best life that you could ever imagine to happen, because you were and still probably is inside yourself a good person with a good heart, sensitive heart, and a good heart. But either way it goes, however it happened, God bless you, sir. Now, like I said, the rest of y'all knew better. My exes, uh-uh. Y'all doing this whole little gang stalking thing to try to mess me up and do all this. Y'all are ex for a reason. If I did not, and I'm not talking about the men who I did not talk to. And there's some other things I found out. Some of you guys talking about I talked to you and I had sex with you. No, I didn't. I didn't touch you. I didn't even say hi to you. Some of you guys I just ignored because you were not the kind of guy I would deal with or date. Not because you're a good or a bad person. It's just that you wasn't my type. All right? But just for some reason, men of this caliber don't understand the meaning of I'm not interested with women. Not because we think we're better than or we're more than you or we stuck up or anything. It's just because we realize that you are not the kind of man that we would rather have in our life. And if a relationship with this young man or young woman don't work, you got to learn how to let go. It doesn't work. It didn't work. No reason you sit back here and hold on to grudges and ruin somebody's life because of it. It means it didn't work out with you. You were not it. You were not the one. Why are you still holding on to grudges? And then the rest of you guys, I think it's just straight up jealousy and envy. Envious and jealous hearted of a woman who moves on and knows her self-worth. Why don't you try learning something and learn your self-worth? I have to be quiet for a minute, let y'all think about that. Your self-worth is what you think of yourself. And if you have any self-worth, you would not be trying to ruin somebody else's life to make you feel better. If anything, you should be able to walk away and not think about that person or that situation just like that person walked away and didn't think about you anymore. Because it didn't work out, people. It's not because nobody thinks anybody better than the next person. It's because it did not work out. You were not it. And the other ones is the man who keeps on talking to women and you know good and dang on well you got a woman and you got a wife. You don't think you're not going to get punished for that? God says he takes the sanctity of marriage very seriously. You just can't play in his ballpark, which is marriage, and think you're not going to get punished for that. You and your wives. Because a lot of y'all's wives go along with the stupidity of, oh, I'm going to break up with my husband, but we're going to still stay married. We're just going to be separate. If you're separate and still married, guess what? You're still married. And you sitting around here talking to people who are single, talking about you're divorced, you don't know damn well you're not. You're going to get in trouble for that. It's called hell. Because you're purposefully ruining other people's lives who are single and actually can date other people just for you can have your fun and still go call somewhere home. It's called going back to hell where you came from. Those are demonic ways. That's what you call stealing, killing, and destroying other people's lives. It's called being selfish. It's called being egotistical and a bigot. Hell is waiting on you for that because God takes marriage vows very seriously. So y'all need to repent and ask the Lord to forgive you guys for what you did and either divorce each other and walk away or learn how to stay together and quit trying to add other folks in your marriage that don't want to be in your marriage. I know I was one of them. One of the people, and it's just amazing to me how men would come in and act like they're single, know good and well they're married, and know good and well they got somebody serious, but will lie to a young lady just to sit back here and act like you are something that you're not. Hell is waiting for you. Punishment by God is waiting on you. You can't punish that woman who didn't know. It's you. And plus, you basically tricked the person into getting a relationship with you that did not know the whole ramifications of your life. But moving forward, I digress. The main reason why I got on here was because of the gentleman that I met back at 14, 15 years old. And I was hoping, I think his name was, well, I'm not going to say his name. I think it starts with a G, though. I want to say it started with a G. And ended with an N. Either way it goes. I'm hoping and praying that you are doing well, sir. I'm done, you guys. This is enough going down memory lane. And I'm hoping that this lesson that I did and I went through with my life, I hope it helps out the next person some kind of way and help you make better choices than I did. And like I said, even though I was young, 14, 15 years old, true. But still, the ramifications of your actions can have a ripple effect on your life for a long time. You know? All right, I'm off here. This is just me venting about something I thought about, and God brought it out to me again this evening that I probably need to put it out there and help out the next person on how to be better, do better, and treat people better no matter what age you are. All right. Y'all have a good night or good morning.